It is another Benny Jazzmags day. What can I do with this today? Well, there's a few things actually. In fact, I could create a list. Oh, not much of that will get done. The first thing I wanted to do was just check the oil, which can be done by pulling out the dipstick and having a look to see how much oil is left on it, and that is fine. I checked it because there's some gunky stuff in the expansion tank, and so that means I've got to keep my eye on how much oil is in there just in case it is going into the coolant. Just for the moment, that is a job I don't really need to worry about because that's fine. And now I would like a cup of tea. But I've got milk and tea bags and water, so that's fine as well. Next, I want to investigate why that's not working. Now, I have been told by a man called Craig that this is quite common because the sender unit can get the contacts all rusted up through having bad fueling, and then that doesn't work. But, however, I can't really be taking the fuel tank off to go and try and have a look at that right now when I can just put more petrol in. And what I can also do, just in case, because the clocks sometimes have been known to do some unusual things, such as bad connections with the rev counter and the speedo. I've had that a few times. Maybe there's some sort of connection issue with that. It's worthwhile just having a look at. No clocks there. I am fully expecting this to be a complete waste of time, but that isn't going to stop me from trying, is it? What's the point in not trying? If you've got an idea, you should see if it's correct or not. Even if you know 95% sure it's not. Taking the fuel tank off to get to the sender is not exactly a quick and easy job. So, but the clocks are. I mean, a couple of the screws were a bit awkward to undo, but it's still not a difficult job. And then I can just go round the back to where I keep such things as speedometers and just simply swap it for another one to see what happens. That means simply going down deep into the dungeon of Rover Horrors to look for where my clocks are. I don't need to look for long because they are one thing I do know for definite. I have and know where they are. They're all up there. Funny that, because I never even sell any of these, but I know exactly where they all are. Not going to take me long before I've got one. It's just a Rover 25 clock. Very, very dirty. Petrol, which is what's necessary. And with a full tank of fuel, which is excellent. I mean, that's really what I need right now. There's the Rover clock, which started off with a full tank of fuel and now it's got none again. That can only mean there's not a problem with that signal. Hiya Carl, you alright? Are you alright? There we go, there's the original clocks back in place, as it didn't prove anything. So I may as well put these ones away, back in the dungeon of doom. Going down to the dungeon of doom, the dungeon of doom, the dungeon of doom. Oh look, the return of Michael Jackson. Somebody's only gone and fixed him, haven't they? Well, there we go, that's one job done. Another one, which was this pipe here, which had started to fall apart and go all, well, there was coolant coming out of it. And I've replaced that. So now I've just got to do the inlet manifold. Stickers on the side, both sides naturally. I'm not finishing the video off by going for a walk. Well, I am, but there's a good reason I'm going for a walk. And it's not that I'm going to the pub. Wish I was going to the pub actually. That'd be rather nice now. One of my traditions has been to have a bit of a chat on the drive home. And that's basically because I forget to finish the video off basically. And so that little drive home gives me the opportunity to kind of wrap things up. But today I've done exactly that, but on a much bigger scale. Today, lots of things I didn't get to video towards the end. And then I went home, made a curry, and then we ate the curry, and then we went out for a drive. And now we're here with me walking by myself back to work. Quite a lot of people knocking about today, with Carl and Aaron, and then a guy called Rodney who's got this Suzuki Jimny who might try and talk into letting me have a test drive of because it just looks hilarious. Briefly then, because I can't quite remember where I got to anyway, replaced one of those pipes that goes from the Saab valve to the coolant temperature sensor. So it's got a nice pipe on there that isn't going to split. And with that, I thought it's only just got a tiny bit of a leak from the inlet manifold, so that's going to be fine. And then I started driving home, and I got so far and suddenly it started cutting out. Yeah, stuttering away like a duck trying to eat a crab sandwich. But I was right next to Morrison's, and I thought, well, maybe it actually needs some petrol after all, because I don't know how much is in there. What a useful place to actually stop, because it turns out that's exactly what it did need. Put another £20 in that I didn't really have, fired it up and it was fine. And not only that, the fuel gauge is working after all. So it had that little fuel in it. It wasn't even registering with £10. I put £10 in yesterday and it was like it had nothing in it. And that was my assumption, there was something wrong with the fuel gauge or the sender. And yeah, there's not. You may well imagine that's pleased me somewhat, because now it means that, well, it's much easier to put some petrol in the car than take the whole fuel tank off and mess around with the sender. So that's good news, worth a good thumbs up. And with the feeling of this car getting better every time I do something with it, I went home rather cheerful. And after we had that curry, I suggested we went out for a little drive. And whilst having this little drive, something rather curious started to happen. The alarm kept going off. The alarm, and then it stalled a couple of times, and all the lights were on the dash. And so, obviously this is ever so slightly concerning. Actually, even worse than this was on the way back, it cut out altogether. On a main road, on a blind bend. Most bends are a little bit blind, aren't they? But this one is, because there's trees either side. So that was a little bit worrying. I got out and jiggled around with the earth leads and stuff, and it fired up and went again. Set off, did the same thing again, cut out. So I took it straight to work. I thought, I can't take any chances. Just going to take it straight to work, walk home, then walk back to collect Nigel. And that is the story so far. So that's where I am, almost back at work. It's fairly clear what the problem's going to be with Benny Jazzmags. It's going to be an earthing issue, because that's what I suspect. Plus also, when I had a jiggle around on the earthing cable, that made it work. And it has been repaired by the looks of it before, with one of those little crimpy things. They're not always the most reliable way of doing it. Oh, I nearly fell down the steps then. I'm not joking, I nearly fell down those steps. Isn't it just as well? Whenever anything goes wrong, like this, I've always got Nigel. Nigel will always come to the rescue. Yet again, it is Nigel to the rescue. Nigel's a hero. Nigel is always there when I want him. Nigel he's the hero, like I said. But you could say he's just an agency worker.